Hey, what's up everyone? RaincloudGaming here. It's been a hell of a week for us Pacifism fans. We've been quite spoilt. First of all, about 10 days ago, Fly put up his 6.7 billion run, which, by the sounds of his recent form, was kind of a low run. He's been in some crazy scoring form lately, but it was still a really interesting run. For checking out his style, and I mean, when you're not able to record consistently, it's unbelievably difficult to hit a really high run like that when you are recording. So that was a hell of a thing to see in your inbox. So it was that. Then Tim Doney casually let loose a little 10 billion run, which had a delightfully what's the word I'm looking for? Unassuming title. It just said 10 billion pacifism. I guess that's all you need to know. That was a hell of a great run. And then the Silver Lord nonchalantly chucked a cheeky 12.1 billion into the mix. So boom, it's just been relentless. So that's cool, and very interesting. Three guys, three very different styles. But what I really wanted to make a commentary about, this is just some random gameplay from a week or so ago when I hit a couple of decent runs, but nothing too spectacular. What I really wanted to do in this video is just follow up on my last commentary when I was talking about different styles of play, and also to talk a little bit about some comments that the Silver Lord left on a different video, that weren't my recent ones, which are really interesting. I'm not going to talk any more about Fly or Tim Doney's or really Silver Lord's runs. You'd learn far more by just watching them than listening to me rambling on, so I'll put the links in the description. So firstly, it's really nice how much people seem to enjoy the commentaries. I'm not really sure why. Maybe my accent's getting strange from living in Tokyo and people want to hear that. But it's very nice, and I enjoy doing them. And the last one got a really nice reception from you guys, so thanks for that. I hope it didn't seem like I was trying to be too what's the god? I played Pacifism for like 3 hours today. I think it's fried my circuits. Not dogmatic, too strict, I guess, with the division that I made between playstyles. So just a quick recap. I was distinguishing two types of playstyle in that commentary. What I called suppression style, which I characterized as being really strict with the gates, trying to do the best possible detonations, and really stockpiling gates, letting them build up, collecting geome very fastidiously, and not giving the blues a chance to build up. That's what I called suppression style. And then navigation style I characterized by contrast as being about moving your ship intelligently to avoid the blues rather than to try and stop them building up any momentum in the first place. And I think it's useful to make those sorts of oppositions just to understand facets of your own game. But as Fly pointed out quite correctly, I'm sure it's likely that every player draws on both of these, regardless even of how high their score is or what stage they're at in their game. It's something both aspects are necessary. Maybe different players emphasize one over another, but if you look at Fly and Silver Lord and Tim Doney's runs this week, it's impossible to categorize them in such simple terms. I mean, I was so struck watching Fly's run about just he seems so calm and just relentless, methodical, like pure T800 Terminator. Tim Doney has this amazing wall-hugging technique, which I just haven't got the guts to do. I'm worried that the cloud will build up too much. But he goes right to the edge of the wall and creates space that way. I remember seeing Thor doing this back in the day, but not to this extent. He's really made it his own, I think, Tim Doney, and Silverlord, God knows what that guy's doing. I'm certainly not going to try and characterise him as either of these things. Anywho, that was what I talked about in the last commentary. Where's this going? Where's it going? This score's looking pretty great. Oh God! Anyway, yeah, that was the last commentary, and in this one I wanted to follow up on some comments that the Silverlord made, because he was incredibly generous, talking about what my style and trying to give me some help, really. And he was commenting also on this distinction that I made. And one, he said a lot of really interesting things and was very insightful about his own game too, so I'll put a link in the comments to that conversation. One thing I want to pick up on was what he was saying about space on the screen. He was remarking about how my style seems to leave a lot of gates on the... I'm going to call it the map. I think I've been doing this anyway, but I tend to think about the screen as a map of some kind. So I tend to leave a lot of gates on the map, let them build up. And he was saying how this seems... He tends to think of this as limiting space, because of course the ends of the gate are deadly. Quite deadly, my friends. And so if you leave, as he said, 20 more gate ends on the screen than you need to, then those are 20 small spaces less, excuse me, that you're able to traverse. So you're accumulating no-go areas on the map, right? So he was saying that's why he doesn't tend to play in that style. But he then said maybe that's being a bit short-sighted. And if you're able to navigate through the gates, then you're not necessarily limiting space. You're creating space in new ways, because of course, theoretically, if there are loads and loads of gates on the screen, then you've got the capacity to suddenly destroy all the blues if they weren't spawning so fast. So you could be creating space very, very quickly. Then it depends whether or not you can navigate those 20 or however many additional no-go areas that don't need to be on the map, but that are. So I thought that was maybe a more useful distinction than the one that I'd made. Because what I was talking about were really tendencies that you might emphasize more or less, but they don't really amount to a playstyle, I don't think, because you need to do both navigation and suppression, and probably a whole constellation of other skill sets, or whatever you want to call it, in a given run. So I'm not sure how useful it is to think about navigation and suppression as playstyles, but the question of how many gates to leave on the screen, and of course this is something that I don't think about too consciously when I'm playing. Again, as Silverlord put it really well, it's what I do, it's how I play, and it's quite, when I'm in the thick of it, it's quite unconscious. So when it's going well, when I'm able to navigate through those gates, I don't know why that is. I'm just in the zone, in the rhythm, whatever. And he made another great point, which is that when it's going well, I feel kind of unstoppable amidst the gates. The problem then is if I suddenly reach a point of calmness when I've got the blues under control, but there are no gates to really be approaching either, that's when I lose it, because that rhythm is just where I'm just relentlessly attacking gates is disrupted. Where am I going with this? Yeah, so the number of gates. What I thought this was very, very useful insight, and I was thinking about space and how what this approach towards accumulating gates, what that amounts to in terms of your relationship with space. And I was thinking, alright, so if you try to create space by clearing out gates, which is how the Silverlord characterizes his own playstyle, then I guess that's quite a predictable way of creating space, right? If you destroy a gate, then you know it's gone and it's not coming back. In that sense, it's predictable. which is a good thing, because there are so many uncertain things happening anyway. The more you can control the run, the better position you're in to maximise your score. So I don't mean predictable as in like boring, I mean predictable as in with one thing a silver run isn't as boring, but I mean predictable as in good play. In contrast, I guess, this other way of creating space, which is by stockpiling gates and possibly then using them to cause massive damage and completely reopen the map, is unpredictable. Because whereas destroying gates in some ways perhaps predictable, if I'm going to use those stockpile gates to create massive damage, it's completely depending on the movement of the gates. And I'm hoping that they're going to move into a configuration whereby I can chain together 3 or 4 gates to get right into the heart of an enormous pack of blues, and then cause massive damage. But if that configuration doesn't arise, if I don't get a chance to use them, due to factors that are largely out of my control, then I can't do it. So that's out of my hands. It's a reactive playstyle, I guess you'd say. Whereas Silverlord was talking about his style as monitoring all the elements on screen and judging where to move, which gates to clear out. That's taking more of an active control of what's happening. Where's this gonna go? And more of an active control of what's happening. Because it's predictable. I mean, it's not predictable, because of course you're still dependent on the movement of the gates and the spawns. But I think it's more predictable. You're more able to take an active role in creating situations whereby you can create space. Whereas my space creating situations, the ones at least that emanate from stockpiling gates, are more dependent on good fortune and gate movements and spawns that favour me, and then it depends whether I'm playing well enough to take advantage of it. So I don't know I've been thinking all day about this and thinking, should I be trying to alter my style? I have painful memories of when I first started watching con artists' runs back in the day. That was around when I'd hit 3 billion for the first time. That was my high score, and he uploaded his 9 billion run. And I remember noticing how close he was staying to the pack. And at that time I had a playstyle I was very happy with, and I tried to do what he was doing, and it didn't go at all well. And I was thinking, man, if I go down this route, and what if I lose what I'm doing well, but I can't do what he's doing well, and it's just screwed. So I kind of forgot about it, but by watching his gameplay, it seemed to just sneak into mine naturally. I think it's very hard to make an active intervention in your playstyle, because if you're sitting, when I'm sitting here playing for a half an hour, it is very repetitive, and although I still enjoy the game, it does feel like work sometimes. My best scores tend to come when I'm really enjoying it. I tend to enjoy it when I'm just lost in the moment, listening to music, playing the game, and thinking various thoughts. So that's not really compatible with trying to make an active intervention in your playstyle. But I think it can happen more unconsciously, just by watching other styles of play, which is why it's so nice to see other players like Silverlord, Tim Doney, Flyfry uploading. So if anyone out there is currently trying to make a big change in their style, I'd say that's great, but probably don't get too stressed about it. It's better just to watch these guys who are uploading incredible runs and pay attention to what they're doing, and then maybe you'll reach a style that combines what you're comfortable with and what you do well with some of these really good practices that they're embodying. So what I'm hoping is just by watching and rewatching these great runs. That's one way, I guess, that Geometry Wars is very different to Street Fighter. So I can watch all of the Daigo Imahara or Jobin, my second favourite Ryu, or Sekigan Ryu, any number of great Ryu players, but it doesn't translate into gameplay. I'm still stuck in the same very basic patterns. Oh, that was nice. That's real good. Very basic patterns. And if you play unconsciously in that game, you are not going to do well. But it's a different type of game, and I think Geometry Wars, I'm sure other people maybe are more conscious in how they make changes in their style. I don't know. I don't really enjoy doing that. If you don't enjoy it, then what are you doing? That's what I'm asking anyway. That, and where's my elephant?